3, 2, 1, we're go. We're live.
Of course, that's how you start things. And we're live, because that's exactly how you always used to do it, Chief Meteorologist. And so, you know what's funny? Because I was thinking about the fact that how we just started off. Because like we're in your home right now, and it's so many years later. Like I saw your kids walking in the room, and I was thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember like holding your 17-year-old son when he was a baby.
I know, we were talking about the day he was born. Do you remember?
No, girl. How could I forget? We were supposed to go to New Kids on the Block.
Backstreet's Back. No, that's that's Backstreet Boys.
Girl,
New Kids on
don't
the
you
Block
ever in
was
your life.
Joey.
That was Jordan Knight, who I loved, and his brother Jonathan Knight. Donnie Wahlberg, not to be confused with Mark Wahlberg.
Love Donnie.
And Danny Wood.
Right.
And Joey McIntyre.
Joey, yep.
And I was on Kiss FM. And we got tickets. We were supposed to go do a meet and greet. And I was on my way to come pick you up. And you called and you're like, I'm so sorry, I can't go. And I was like, why? But you also sounded hyped. And I'm like, why? What's up? Because I have my own kid on the block.
That's right. I got my own new kid on the block. And the thing is, you wouldn't have known because I wasn't pregnant. He was adopted. So that was the day they said, hey, the baby's being born, and we had to go unplanned.
And I remember
Bolingbrook, Illinois.
Yes. And I remember because we already had his little nickname for the rest of his life. And now that I'm thinking about it, taking it way back of like how we met media girls together, we instantly became like besties.
We did. I can't even remember how many times, too many times to count, that we had our little meets at that bar in the building on Lake in Michigan.
At Southwater, at the bottom of the Illinois Center, across from the Hard Rock Hotel. I think it's different.
Which now has a CVS in it or something. I don't know.
It's still connected, but you're thinking of the other side, because we used to walk by the Jimmy John's and everything. We used to meet because you would get a break from your whole morning and long day, and I would get a break between WGCI and Kiss FM.
That's right.
And then we would do our lunch.
So fun.
And then not just that, but like thinking back, I mean, we would hang out. I'd come to your place in Oak Park, and then we'd go and do all of our charity events. We were each other's +1 for all of them.
I loved it. It was so good. Yeah, because I had like 3 or 4 kids at the time in Chicago, 4 by the time William came. And so we were... the kids were at home. And so we were going around together everywhere. And I do remember a couple of times when you were in the high rise in Chicago, J-Head was in the same building. We can go there.
Yes, we can go there.
I remember the hair and makeup coming over to your apartment, and you just lived in this great place. Was it out on South Loop? I can't remember.
It was a museum park.
Yeah. It was great. It was fun. Good times, good memories.
Good times, good memories. We were each other's +1. We did all of the red carpets together. Remember we did the White Sox one, and we had like all of the general managers and like the coaches already knew us because you threw a first pitch. Also, I threw a first pitch. Mine was a strike. I pitched a strike. There's proof on my social media at Nina Chantele. Go look it up. And you did one for the Sox and the Cubs.
Yeah, I did. The one for the Chicago Cubs was charity based, and that was the March of Dimes, because they did preemie babies, and my daughter Kate was a preemie.
Yes, that's right.
So that was cool. That was really fun. One of my favorites though was Chicago Magazine. It was like the Chicago Magazine favorites party. You were invited, celeb. I came, half celeb. And then we were meeting celebs there. Yes. We were on the red carpet and everything. And there was the guy from The Bachelor, like one of the first seasons. I cannot remember his name.
This is when The Bachelor was still like...
Yeah. A thing.
Like
it had beginning.
It was the beginning.
I feel bad I can't remember your name, dude, but you were cool. And he did bring a friend, Scott Cruz.
Yes.
Who I do remember his name, and I've been friends with ever since.
Because we all were talking like near the bar. Because also, was that the same one where they were trying to hook up singles or something?
Yes.
And they wanted to hook me up. I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing the singles thing.
That was fun.
It was fun.
I stayed friends with him to this day. So that, all those little things that we did, a lot of them grow into lifetime friendships.
So we're in Salt Lake City. We're in your home. And thank you for having me. I mean, obviously you're like my sister, so I have my room in your home and I appreciate that.
Anytime.
But it's my first time in Salt Lake City, Utah. And so we're driving and I'm looking at everything last night, snow-capped mountains, just beautiful scene. This home is so gorgeous. But on the way, we were passing something. I don't remember that thing. I was like, girl, what is that? It's so interesting. You're like, that's U2 or Bono or somebody.
That is a former piece of a U2 concert stage. Bono donated that to what is now the aquarium just south of Salt Lake.
And that's how all of our memories started from last night. We started talking about in the car on the way from the airport when you picked me up.
Yeah.
And it's so cute. We have footage of Amy running up to me in the airport. I had never been to Salt Lake City.
You were filming me.
And we're like, she's like, where are you? And I'm like, girl, I'm coming outside. And you were waiting for me on the inside, like,
of course.
Like with almost like with the welcome sign. And I just was so excited to see you. And you look exactly the same.
So do you. We haven't aged at all.
Girl, no, we have not.
Seriously though. No, that's for real though.
No, we have not.
I'm sorry.
What do you think that is? What do you think the secret to that is?
We're young at heart.
I believe it. I also believe that our like we were talking about the charity events and the parties and the environment that we kept each other in. We were each other's like honest media sisters, like person that we got to vent to with all the BS that you already know is in that business. And things that, I mean, now we could talk about.
Well, that's the other thing I would say is though, even though we're in the business, it brings us together, kindred spirits. We didn't talk about business a lot then. We were friends. We talked about life. We had common things that we did together. We were from the same broadcasting industry, but we didn't really talk about the industry while we were in it. Mm-hmm. Kind of, it's a little taboo to do.
It was refreshing because we knew that our friendship wasn't about that.
Right.
And now that I'm thinking about it, having that conversation, what do you think that keeps us, not aged like others? I really do believe that it keeps us youthful, like our spirit, our events that we go to, like even the music and things that kept me in my environment with radio for so long.
5 years?
But you were the chief meteorologist, but you were everywhere.
First woman at night, too. I was up against Tom Skilling. I was up against Tom Skilling, which was a legendary time frame because Fox was beating WGN at that time frame. Why? I'd like to think it was because I was so great, but I will actually say it's because Ryan Seacrest started American Idol during that time frame and Fox was carrying American Idol. We were right after him. Tom is still the legend, but I love that story.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Period. Speaking of American Idol, did you ever meet Ryan Seacrest?
Yes, and can I say he's an absolute genuine doll?
Yeah.
In person.
He really is. He became live with Kelly and Ryan, and I can't even say how nice he was because he was that nice.
Yeah.
The person that you see on TV, genuine, but just level it up of niceness one more, because he would come up to the newsroom. We were in the same building because it was, it's an ABC, it is a syndicated show from ABC.
This was once you were in New York.
Because when I was
for
in
people
New York,
who don't know.
Yeah, I was in New York and I was working for WABC and we syndicated that show. And they were in a studio just right below us, but he would come up to the newsroom and say hello to people and just genuinely a very, very normal, cool person.
It's funny that we're having that conversation because people always ask, oh my God, you're on iHeartRadio for like the past, like however many years, over 2 decades. I'm like, yeah. They're like, how's Ryan Seacrest? It's like people want to know.
Right.
I don't have a negative word to say about Ryan Seacrest.
I don't either. I mean, he took photos with all of us, asked about the news. He was just genuinely a good dude. But I think about that when I think about the early days of American Idol, because he came from radio.
And that's why another reason that I was going to say that I don't have a bad word to say about him, because I respect his hustle.
Yeah.
This story, the way it started when you said that he came from radio, do you know that he used to fly himself from I forgot what market in California to I think the Bay on the air there as well. He would fly himself to do all that, which is okay, you've got other people say Tom Joyner back in the day that would do that kind of stuff. That's why he was known as the fly jock.
Right.
But Ryan Seacrest did all these things because he wanted to do more. And when he got himself into TV, even when he started blowing up remember on the very first season of American Idol?
There were 2 guys.
There were 2 guys.
You don't even remember the first guy. What was his name? Do you know?
I'm so sorry for the first guy.
Bad choice, guy.
Bad
choice.
Also, no shade, but that's just the way it goes. It's because one was left standing.
Yeah, he was probably thinking, oh, this is too much work. They're not paying me enough, whatever.
And Ryan made it happen on his own. And I remember that first season because I remember voting for Kelly Clarkson through text on the first season.
Amen.
And I still love Kelly Clarkson.
Yes.
I love her music. I love her show. I love her demeanor. I love Kelly Clarkson. But I remember voting for her. And it's funny. I have a story about Kelly Clarkson voting for her at the very end. I was on the air in Miami during that time. And Fat Joe, Remy Ma, and DJ Khaled were all my friends. And this is the day that they recorded that song and Lean Back. Lean Back. You remember that song?
Yes.
They were at DJ Khaled's house and we had all gone after work. DJ Khaled was on my mentor's show on 99 Jams. It was his DJ, Rick Party's DJ, and I was on 103.5 The Beat. So I used to host this club on Sundays and DJ Khaled would spin. So we became cool because of doing the same party. So for some reason, Fat Joe and Remy Ma had come to town from New York and we all hung out. So they were like, hey, we're going to be doing a song together. Come meet up. And so Remy was like a sister to me. So I went and met up with Remy, got some food. We went back to DJ Khaled's house and they were making a song in like the studio in his home. And this is when DJ Khaled was just coming up. So he didn't have the huge home that he has now. So it was like a smaller studio and it was just crammed and they were doing their thing. And here's little old me. Can I go in your living room and watch Kelly Clarkson? Because it was like the finale. And I voted for Kelly Clarkson. When I was done watching the episode, they let me hear it. They had already finished in that amount of time. Lean Back, the Grammy Award winning song.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah. But also back to Ryan Seacrest, Squirrel.
Yeah.
So people ask, is he nice? He will remember a person. He will help you if you ask. At our iHeartRadio Music Awards in Vegas, people will be trying to stop him left and right, but he will stop and see you.
Right.
And even at a staff meeting in LA, he would stop and, Nina, how are you? How's everything going? Genuinely remember the last conversation you had. Pick up where you left off. So
not a lot of people in the business like that, honestly.
And you, going back, because you started talking about Ryan Seacrest and that you were in New York. Mm-hmm. So people will wonder when we're talking about how youthful and how back in the day, how youthful we still look and how back in the day we were friends and that you were on for 5 years at Fox News Chicago as a chief meteorologist. So, I mean, people probably wondered what happened to you. I know you have a social media following, so those people know. But like you went to New York, like you were a big deal in New York. Please tell how that happened, because I remember visiting you. Everybody knew Amy Freeze, and where you lived was beautiful. She lived near the Met. I mean, everybody knows the Met Gala. Like, she lived near the Met, took me everywhere in New York. And how did that transition happen?
Yeah, back in Chicago, I did a lot of work for the Chicago Bears. I did on-field reports for them. We had so many snow events in Chicago when I was there, a lot of different weather events. So I had a very successful experience in Chicago. And at that time, the station, FLD, WFLD, they were making tons of changes. And they had not renewed the contracts of 18 people in front of me. And so my contract was coming up. And I remember just being so confident, just thinking, my agent was like, well, I don't know. They may not renew your contract. You're getting paid quite a bit. And they're restructuring. And I said, oh, I'm fine. I've got a good gig going. They're not going to change me. I was completely confident about it. And he finally called me and said, Amy, they've hired someone else. They just haven't told you yet.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
girl.
Yeah, I know. So that came up, and I remember the news director calling me in. She was a woman. She said, we're not going to renew the contract. She goes, but don't worry, because with your last name, you'll always have a job. That was her resolution.
And by the way,
didn't have anything to do with my skill, but my last name, baby.
Which is her real literal last name. Yeah. Didn't they say on Kelly and was it Kelly and Michael or Kelly?
It was Kelly and Michael at that time.
Remember they came on TV and
her real last name. Her dad's Mr. Freeze.
So it's true that you would always have a job. So how did you end up getting?
So I remember going to New York. I had 2 job offers. One was in Kansas City, paying me a lot of money to be a chief meteorologist at night. Was going to be a great job. My husband at the time packed all the boxes and was like, Kansas City, Kansas City. And this job that had actually been available before I moved to Chicago came up again in New York City at WABC, and it was the weekends. And I went to do the interview, and the news director really, really big reputation, news director. And he says, you know what? You've been the chief meteorologist in Chicago. This job is going to be small for you. You're not going to like it. He's like, you would just have to sign in blood to make me believe that you really want this job and you're not going to complain about being on the weekends. So I said, no, I want the job, And so I spent the rest of the day in New York doing some stuff. I stopped by the Kinko's and I got a red marker. And I wrote on it, I said, I will not complain. I want the job. Signed my name and took it back to the receptionist.
The blood.
As my blood. And I ended up getting the job. And it was just a really, really awesome experience. On the weekends in New York, that's when people actually watch TV because they're home. Yeah. Otherwise, you're leaving early to get your train. You're home late at night, et cetera, et cetera. So the weekends were a very, very good step for my career. And I worked with incredible people at WABC. It's a legendary station. Everyone from Geraldo to, many, many, many famous names in television. Eyewitness News, it's where the Eyewitness News brand began. And I had a wonderful time there. I mean, I spent 12 years at WABC. I loved it.
I didn't realize it was 12 years.
Yeah.
Sis, can we talk about this if you want to? Mm-hmm. We don't have to mention any names. But I remember you were actually supposed to be on a bigger show in New York.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want to speak on that?
Well, sure. I mean, I would just say in general with the business, your aspiration is to work for the network. So I worked for the O&Os over the years, which is owned and operated televisions, wanted to work for the network. And I got a lot of opportunities. When I was at Philadelphia and at NBC, I got opportunities to do the Today Show. You get opportunities to do the network shows. It's a little perk for you, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I went to New York, I thought maybe I'm going to get some more chances at Good Morning America and so forth. Well, at the same time, there had been another meteorologist in Chicago who had interviewed for the jobs. Well, I didn't get the opportunity for the weekends at Good Morning America because it was a part-time job at the time. So a lot lower pay than I'd be getting. Plus working for the local, working for WABC, it's the number one television station in the world for local television. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, gonna go there. And so the other meteorologist came from Chicago and took the job on the weekends. And good on her because she put some hustle behind it. Got paid really, a low amount in the beginning because it was a weekend gig, turned it into a full-time gig, turned it into some other things. But the person before her, right, was a man. And he was getting paid a lot of money. When you're at the network, you can get the millions.
Don't even get me started on that.
Yeah. And so she came along and she took, they got her for a good value. It was a good opportunity for her, but it was also a good value for them. And that's a lot about what the business has turned into, is that the jobs that were once high paying, high visibility jobs are being taken over by people who really want to get into the business and they want to hustle. Can't blame them, right? But if you take a lower pay, say you're going into a job and let's just use $100. You're going to a job and you take $100, what was once paid $10,000, then you see how are you ever going to get back up to that $10,000?
Preach it, sister.
Yeah. So it's just, that was happening, 15 years ago when I got into New York. And so that was difficult. I got paid really well. I had a very successful time there, but the ability to get back to where I wanted to be at a network level, paying that amount of money, the timing of it, the luck of it, being chosen, plus getting the money is difficult. It's not really there anymore.
We got to respect that though, because you and I got along for a reason at the very beginning when we became close. We had the same demand respect with a smile on our face, know when to speak up, know when to pick and choose the battles, and know what we're worth. Mm-hmm. Even now, that's the whole thing about starting Unmuted with Nina Chantele, the podcast, my transition. Just like you were talking about, okay, good on you for, trying to get started somewhere and hustling. But you have to understand that people like us have been in the business for a long time. We know what we were paid before. Why would we take a huge pay cut for more work that we have to do because of the industry now saying we found a way to make you be able to do all of these other, shows across the nation or whatever for less money when there's an intern or somebody that's coming in, at entry level that will do it for such a low amount of money, and now they don't need you. But the problem is that, Amy, I think they still need us. It's not the same.
Right.
It's not. And I'm not taking away from other people's talent, But you're going to do the bare minimum if you know that you have to do 15 shows a day and you're getting paid less minimum wage than people at Trader Joe's and Costco who have better benefits. And don't even get me started on that, girl. Don't even get me started on it. But that's what I'm saying about what you just said. Yeah, you can put on the resume, Today's Show, Good Morning America, whatever. But you can also go home feeling like, I'm drained. I'm exhausted. I don't have a personal life. I can't do this and this and this on the side. I don't have the best benefits because I'm not getting all the hours that I'm not supposed to because I'm recording so much for this every day. And what am I really getting out of it? The passion isn't there anymore the way it was for me. Like going into a studio, walking into a studio, getting phone calls, being able to air those phone calls and those topics. Remember, I used to do all that?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
It's the fun part for me. And that's what I feel people knew me for, and my attitude and the way I can talk. And now I can talk on this podcast because I was able to say and have opinions on things. But now when you're recording for all these other markets, you don't have time.
Right.
And
well, I think that's where you're hitting the nail on the head, is that the product has changed, which in turn the audience has changed. And when I took my last contract with Fox, I kind of knew that when I left WABC, I said, the business is changing so rapidly. My ability to get to the point that I thought I was going to get to, that's a very narrow way. So if I can get money from another network that wants to pay me and I can work for 3 years getting paid what I would have been paid over 5 or 6 years, I should take that opportunity because the bottom could fall out any moment, because the product has changed, which means the audience has changed. They have so many other options now. So even with young people starting into the business, when they ask me, or I see them taking these jobs, I'm like, I don't understand why you're taking that job. You could do your own thing, start your own radio station, start your own TV station, start your own app, your own stream, your own podcast, and literally make as much money as you would making, doubling really what you'd make somewhere else. So I think that just knowing and understanding that the concept of what it used to be really doesn't exist in the same way. And because it doesn't exist in the same way, your expectations shouldn't be the same.
Speaking of even that, Amy, you're like good at transitioning into other things. People are probably wondering, okay, so you're in Salt Lake City, you're not in New York anymore on, doing your meteorology on that weekend show. Nina's not in Chicago anymore. What is she doing? You are like AI really savvy. Do you fear and do you advise anybody, just like you were saying to the younger people of like, why do you want to get into that business? You can like do it on your own. What can you say about the transition, about like AI and whatnot?
Yeah, it was really fascinating to me because after I stopped working, I was like, oh, I got a lot of money. I'll just sit around and do nothing now for a bit. And that doesn't last forever. But I was I'll just kind of do it. And I was here at the house in Utah because I still had my place in New York and I was going back and forth. But I said, the refrigerator filter needs to be fixed. And I looked it up on YouTube. And how do you fix the refrigerator filter? And of course it was there, but also what showed up on the screen was a lot of weather data, because of course the algorithm is going to lead me, a meteorologist, to weather stuff. And I saw a lot of people on there doing weather. And I was like, what's up with this guy? He's got telling me about a storm of the century coming, and I click on it and I start seeing all these things with weather. And I had no idea that there were people on YouTube doing the weather with an audience. And this particular guy had 2 million subscribers. That week, there happened to be a storm in Kentucky, and I clicked on him just to watch, and there were 200 some odd thousand people watching for hours, a guy on YouTube. And I thought, what in the world? If you look at the numbers with local television, you don't get that in a month in some markets.
What was that about?
So I was like, wow, this guy's running his own gig here, and he's a one-man show. And so I thought, oh, well, that's kind of interesting. I wonder if I could do that. And at the same time, I had been thinking, I felt like a robot, my last job. Maybe I could make myself a robot. And so I was looking already at sort of AI avatars type stuff. And I was thinking maybe I'd make a cartoon or an animation or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I said, well, I could make myself into an avatar, and maybe I could just put it right there like this guy's doing and just go. And so that got me started in seeing what the possibilities were. AI is not about replacing people. It really is about scaling, enhancing, and being able to do the jobs, which I would call automated jobs. So when in weather, when a alert comes up, like a warning, hey, there's a thunderstorm warning for your area, there's a flood warning, there's a fire warning in LA. These are all automated things that come up. If there's a watch which comes before a warning, that's something that doesn't require any automation or doesn't require any interpretation. It's automated. So that comes out. My avatar or digital twin can grab that information from the National Weather Service, put it into a digital twin that looks just like me.
And it does.
You can't even tell the difference. And then she can say, hey, I'm the digital twin, and this is the information for the watch. Be heads up to watch the weather between noon and 4 p.m. today. And people can get that automated to their phone, to their, social media or whatever. I thought, wow, that's the beginning. That's the beginning of what it could be. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing a lot of just kind of experimentation. How could you do automations? How could you make this all happen without really touching a button? And it's all possible, but it required me to work with someone who understood AI. So the AI guy, he doesn't know about meteorology, and I don't really know about AI, but together we were able to create a new product. So that's the kind of thing that I think the future is about. Will AI take some jobs? Yes. But when it takes those jobs, it's going to open up the opportunity for more jobs and more things. So we cannot fear the unknown because it's going to come anyway. The better thing to do is to embrace it and find our place in it, right? Mm. So we've seen that over the years, from automation coming into radio stations, coming into television stations. It's all happened. I always saw people who resisted that resisted those changes. They were the people that were out the door pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right? So the problem is that when you're in a institution like broadcast, if you start to say, okay, we need the new stuff coming in, if you start to remove the people that are willing, right? If you're not willing, then dude, you're out the door. But if you're willing to learn, if you replace those people, they have the institutional knowledge. So they need to be the ones that show, hey, here's how this could be applied. If you bring in young people who know technology, but they don't know the business, you're not going to get the result you were expecting. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that all the time. So applying technology to people who have institutional knowledge really is the magic, I think, for the future.
Well said.
Yeah.
And not just that, but so now you do have your own avatar, your own thing on YouTube, right?
Yeah. And the reason I kind of made the avatar is because I wanted to show people what was possible. I really wasn't trying to make Amy Freeze in your phone doing the weather as a digital twin, although it can do that. But I wanted to show people what's possible because it can be applied to a lawyer, to a dermatologist, a real estate agent, an insurance agent. You could do all of these things that are asked of you daily.
How can people find you on there to see what
Well, amyfreeze.ai is where I've put all the stuff that I can do.
Okay.
So I've got that going, but I've also been doing a podcast, same as you. I've been doing other things that are I did a talkback avatar so people could ask, why is the sky blue? And my avatar brain, which I built myself as a meteorologist, will answer those questions. But then if it says, where do you live? Or, who are you dating? It'll say, that's not an appropriate question. I've trained her well. No.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we're not going there. Yeah. So you're being, okay, all of this transition and everything that's happened, like chapter to chapter to chapter. And now where do you want to, you're in Salt Lake City, Utah. Mm-hmm. Where are you in life now? Where is
I have breaking news. I have breaking news for you. I am a grandmother as of 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago.
Yeah.
My oldest son, it's weird. I had my son when I was 10. That's why I'm so young. But I did start my family very young. Mm-hmm. And so, but my son is married and he had his first little boy, and that has been such an awesome experience.
He's so cute.
And people say to me, oh, well, how do you feel about being a grandma? Sometimes do you feel old, you're too young? But it really is one of the most awesome things that has ever happened in my life. I feel so much love, and just seeing my son love like I've loved him has been an amazing experience. And I don't feel old, and I hope he calls me grandma, because my grandparents, your grandfather, how special these people are in our lives.
Yeah.
And so I'm thrilled to take on that role. And so
you want to be called grandma?
Yeah.
You don't want grandma. A nickname?
If they come up with a nickname and they call me that, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't need a nickname to make me feel okay about being a grandma, because I'm fine with it.
And how is life in Salt Lake City with your personal life? You're happy. What is a typical day that Amy Freeze goes through when she's not working?
All right, I'll tell you about that. Well, I'll preface it by saying leaving New York was difficult for me. I mean, I had my place until just a little while ago, even though I hadn't been working full time there for almost a year and a half. So it was difficult because once you're in New York, maybe it's the same in LA, I don't know. But once you're in New York, you just develop this relationship with the city.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to leave
Yes.
because you have a certain comfort in the chaos.
Yes, girl.
And so I have had that. And it was very difficult for me to kind of say, well, what about my friends? What about, because your friends really become your family. And
Yes.
you really have a community there that you don't have anywhere else. Now, that being said, life in New York is hard. It's expensive. It's difficult. There's, always
Same in LA.
a challenge to get your breakfast, people. Okay.
Yeah. Gas is like over $5 a
or
gallon.
you can't have a car in New York, so you got to figure out subway. You got to figure out how to get to places. So I did have that separation anxiety for a little while, which I still go back and film podcast stuff like that in New York, but I want to be close to my kids, and life is easier here. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have space. I mean, I think one of the rooms in my house is probably bigger than any apartment I ever lived in New York.
This home is so gorgeous.
Yeah,
We're going to do a little walk around. I
Yeah.
want you to see the outside. I mean, if you're down for them to
Yes.
see the outside of your
I
home,
want them
what
to see
the
the
backdrop
mountains.
is.
Yeah.
I am so at peace right before my birthday, hanging out with my girl and just seeing how happy you are here. Go on about the house. So
So, I had that time that was difficult. I'm like, what am I doing here? Everybody's so far away. Even in the neighborhood, people are just, the space is more.
Yeah.
And so you get into your car, you in the garage, and then you go someplace, and then it's a different social experience. But the people are very nice, and there's less threatening things, and there's calm here. And my kids all go to school here, so I'm like, I want to be close to them. So that's where the transition occurred. Now, I was actually born in Utah. I was born here 6 weeks old. My parents took me to Southern Indiana, and that's where I grew up for 18 years, was in the Midwest. So I grew up in Indiana, and then
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, when I came to college, I came here, and I went to school in Utah. I was here for about 3 years, and then of course I've lived coast to coast over my adulthood in different TV markets, from Portland all the way to New York. And but now that I'm here, a day when I get up at about 6. Get my youngest son, still in school, high school. So I get him ready and kick him out the door, make sure he's on time. And then, exercise, get a little start of my day. And I'm looking at the computers. I'm working on things that have to do with meteorology and that media company that I've built with the amyfreeze.ai. And then I started another project where I'm consulting at a private investigating firm, which is actually very, very cool.
So cool.
And the number one thing I've learned is everything you do on the computer, people can find out. So just know that any account you sign up for, anything you're doing, it can be retraced back to you.
And just know,
beware.
You know how it always says like memes, or like you'll be scrolling through like social media,
right?
And you'll be like, that one friend that can find out anything just by a picture, or, I have one of those. Just putting it out there. I have one of those. We will find out.
I remember I was dating this guy in New York. After I got divorced, I dated several guys. But this guy that I was dating, he says, I'm going on a trip, going by myself. I'm going by myself on this trip, he says.
That's always where it starts.
And he was sending back pictures. And he sends back a picture. And you can see in the reflection a girl taking the picture. No one else is there.
What an idiot.
They're in Iceland.
Girl.
Okay, people. I knew. Okay. He didn't last long.
Oh, no.
But that was a good one. That was probably one of my first big PI moves.
We won't let out all the secrets because,
Exactly. Yeah.
Ladies, if you ever need something, you reach out through our DMs and
Yes.
we will get you a PI.
Yeah.
Yeah. At Nina Chantele, and yours is
Yes.
at Amy Freeze,
That's
right?
true.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed that though. That's
fun.
Has been a lot of fun. It's been fun. It's like solving puzzles, but I do have a BCI, private investigator license. I'm working in a firm and getting, sort of trained to do all those things.
Love that.
It's cool.
I've always said I would want to be like something like an FBI agent or something to like, I love Dateline and
Oh, yeah.
all of those shows. So I would want to be like an investigator for that. Like that kind of stuff is so interesting to me.
It's really cool. It's fun.
So Utah is, okay, you were born here, you were raised in Southern Indiana, you came back for college, and And
My
then
family lives here now.
and then you came back as an adult. So all of the transition, a lot of people were talking about when I was telling friends that I was coming to Salt Lake City, were saying, oh, it's like a dry, it used to be a dry airport. And it's like Mormons it's like the center of that area.
Right.
Tell me about that. Cause a lot of people are not educated on it. I find it very interesting for people just to know it's not like a stereotypical thing of what you may have in mind.
Yeah, if you've been watching Secret Lives of Mormon Wives or Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, that is not what it's like at all.
Yeah.
Those people are not LDS or Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They are not a part of the church. They are living in the culture, I think would be the best way to describe it. But I was born Mormon, nicknamed for the faith. And my ancestors actually walked in the handcart companies across from really coming from Europe into the East Coast of the United States. And then they walked here to the Salt Lake Valley and helped to settle it. So my mom's heritage is deeply rooted in pioneer heritage and history. So my 5 great grandmother Elizabeth came walking across the icy rivers, and all the family history and stuff is there written out. And so I was born into the faith with my mom and dad. My dad was a convert to the church.
What does that mean?
It means he was grown up first Christian in in Indiana, Indianapolis, where he originally was from. And then he came to BYU. Funny story. My grandmother, it was 1970. My grandmother says, no, you're not going to go to college because these kids are out of control. It was Kent State, 1970. Look it up. The kids were rebelling on campus and there was a shooting and the police shot some of the students.
What?
Yeah, it was very serious, 1970. And so my grandmother says, no, you're not going to college. It's too dangerous. Well, my dad wanted to play football. And one of her friends says, well, you know what? He should go to college. You got to let him go to the BYU because they don't let those kids do anything. Because like you said, restriction, honor code. You couldn't have a beard at the time. There's no drinking, no swearing, no any of that stuff, right?
Like caffeine and everything too, right?
Yeah, caffeine. I can explain that one too. Everyone always wants to know about caffeine.
I do. I always want to know.
Yeah, I want to tell you about that one.
Okay.
So she says, let him go there. And she calls the football coach. My son wants to come out. Okay, send him. He was first Christian. He wasn't Mormon. A lot of Mormons they don't have to be Mormon to go to BYU. A lot of non-Mormons go there from all over the world.
Okay.
So he goes, he plays the football ball. And, my grandmother's so worried about his safety. He goes to BYU, he's totally safe. He joins a men's club. And they go up into the mountains to do shooting, quick draw shooting, right? So my dad goes up in the mountains. He shoots himself in the leg.
Shut up.
So my grandmother was scared he would shoot him. He'd get shot if he went to Kent State, and he shot himself at BYU.
Oh my gosh.
So that's kind of the family joke.
Oh my gosh.
But he then met my mom. They got married, and here we are. And so, yeah, being Mormon is very normal, contrary to some of the things people think. But I've never drank. I've never had alcohol in my life. You know this from knowing me all these years. I've never smoked. Now, caffeine is a little bit of a gray area, right? Because it's part of what's called the word of wisdom or advice about how to keep yourself healthy. And the thing is with caffeine is that it is addictive, right? We all know this, right? If you take caffeine in on a regular basis and then you don't have it, you get a headache, right? So it's really more about the principle of addiction than it is about anything else. So coffee, caffeine, gambling, these types of things that are addictive are a part of the doctrine, which is associated with the word of wisdom. So it's not really a rule like you can't have caffeine, although that's part of what's written in, but it's really about the principle of addiction, which applies to gambling, pornography, all kinds of different habits that people can develop, right?
Okay.
So there you go. It makes
nothing wrong
sense
with that.
Yeah, but I have had caffeine in my life many times, especially being in the morning, and I do notice the difference. I mean, the other thing, I saw some research recently that said caffeine makes you age quicker. So I'm like, oh man,
you're like, I look good. Bad. I don't need to do that.
I don't know though. Like anything at this point, I don't want to mess it up. So anyway, but that's kind of the thing about it. The whole idea of polygamy. When the saints or when the church was coming from the East Coast out west, a lot of husbands died. Either they would come before their families and they would die on the plains, or they died through sickness coming with their families. So from Indian and cowboy shootouts to just the harshness of coming across the plains. And so when a man would die who was married and had 6 kids, he would be assigned, or the women would be assigned to the men that were still living, right?
Oh.
So polygamy became more a principle from the Bible that was reinstituted. And then when we came and settled in the Salt Lake Valley, it was no more. But it was outlawed, et cetera, got against the law. But there were some people that in a lot of faith and a lot of ideologies, there are factions that break off, right? So there were certain factions of the LDS faith that broke off and still did polygamy. And so that does occur. There have been some famous cases, I think, that people could easily find where there's a man who has multiple wives. And I think in modern times, we can see how that would take advantage of either younger girls or multiple women, et cetera. And there can be a lot of crime associated with that, which the state of Utah does not endorse at all. But I will say also, too, there are people who believe in it, and they believe in it in an orderly way, in an orderly fashion, that they're okay with it. So not to bring a soft spot to it, but there are some principles in polygamy that make sense to some people. And it makes sense to them in the fact that they love each other and they share, unlike we understand in our own modern culture. And so the principle of polygamy is a very complex issue, right? And at its very basis, it is in the Bible. So not that it should be applied to modern life, but understanding how it was exercised, how it was incorporated into different time periods in life is important. It also makes for a funny punchline.
Well, it's also interesting the way that you broke it down in that sense, the history of it all.
Right. I mean, can you imagine having 8 kids and you're walking across the plains and there's no man to provide food for you? And
I couldn't imagine having 8 kids, period.
Yeah.
But also beyond that, what you're giving the explanation of in the background, you know that other people are doing it in
a very, in an appropriate way.
All of these different blogs and different actors and artists that are, I'm not putting names out there. I think we all know who most of the most popular ones are.
And that's abusive. I mean, you can understand how abusive that has become and wrong.
You know, and there's a fine line, sis, that I'm going to tell you. You know, one of my very best friends, she is like a sister to me, just as close as you are, is in a situation. And she's fine with it, but the way that it all comes out with the way that the man describes it is where the issue comes at hand, and how the women are then being judged. And how does one not judge when they're on the outside looking in and they're not in that world, right? So of course, the way that you broke it down was I'm grateful that you broke it down that way, because you gave me the history of what people say, oh, Mormons are all, you know, it's polygamy and all that. But you just broke it down in a whole different way. I didn't even know.
Right. And if you think back to biblical times, there were times when they needed to replenish. They needed to quickly replenish populations and so forth. It's not the same as what our modern society. So there were times that was appropriate, or perhaps God instructed because of the situation, but this is not the concept that is happening in modern times. We see a lot of abuse, we see a lot of domination and really illegal activities that are associated with it. So it's sad, but I always come back to, like, if it were polygamy with me and multiple husbands, trust me, no, you know, yeah. It would take about 10 men to handle me, but you know what I'm saying? I couldn't take more than one man, so.
That's why I started laughing. I'm like,
so.
And also, I couldn't be in this polygamous world because you ain't about to share my man.
Exactly.
No, that's not going to happen. We're in a whole different. That being said, let's get a little break of some water. I want to show your beautiful backdrop of your world. And pick up on some other stuff. We have so much stuff to catch up on, even things that I didn't even know about my own sister in my life. I didn't know that you grew up in Southern Indiana.
Southern Indiana, it's a little town called Jeffersonville. Yeah. What was the town in Chicago you grew up in?
Well, so I was born on the south side of Chicago at South Chicago Community Hospital back in the day. And then I was raised in Calumet City at that time. I'm not going to give any years or my age, but it was a cute little neighborhood. I was there for 16 years. I went to high school and grade school in Calumet City. And then I ended up going to the east side of Chicago when my parents divorced. And then after that, I ended up, the first time I moved from Chicago on my own at a very young age, when I started radio very, very young out of high school, I moved to Miami. I was young. I couldn't even imagine my niece moving at the age that I moved to another state, I'd be like, you're not ready for that.
Right.
I faked it till I made it for so long. I had to learn my life lessons the way that I learned them in different cities, and had to learn the hard way of how to like save the money. And just like you said, save that money because it doesn't last long when you need it in those emergency situations. COVID hit, and all that money I saved throughout the years, you know, it's like things start to get rough, you know, throughout the years.
I just wish I'd bought fewer expensive purses in my day.
The ones that I have decided to keep are my babies. So I still keep those handbags. And, but yeah, some of those shoes.
Now know I didn't need as many as I actually
I didn't need some of those shoes that I was wearing.
Exactly.
Those Christian Louboutins are not comfortable.
Right.
I even put those up for sale, girl. But yeah. Anyway, let's go take a break. I need some water, and let's like start looking around the backdrop of your beautiful home and do some fun.
I love it. Let's do it.
The fact that you have an old school treehouse back there, like, did somebody build that for real? Like,
yeah, you can actually go in. That's a 2-story treehouse,
and you can walk into it. So
yes.
The kids played there. You got a trampoline. Got some hammocks, a whole waterfall.
Yeah.
You even have one of the
fire pit.
Fire pit.
Yeah, fire pit.
Make s'mores.
Small little orchard back there with small apples and plums.
That's wild. What kind of apples? I used to have an apple tree in my backyard
apples.
when I was a kid.
Tiny little apples. They're green apples.
Oh,
yeah,
ours were green.
They're sweet.
I was a bad girl when I was a kid, though.
All I can think about though in this backyard are your sunglasses.
Dang.
They look so good. Is this your line?
This is my line. It's the Shy to LA ones.
Those are so cute.
Thank you.
I love them. They're like rainbowy.
We've got to get you some.
Yeah.
My idea was for the sunset part was the pink.
Right.
So sunrise, sunset from Shy to LA, and then the water from Lake Michigan to the Pacific.
Ain't that the truth?
That was my whole Shy to LA with Alexander Dawes.
That's so
available
cool.
online on my link, also in stores at 900 North Michigan. Yes, Michigan Avenue in Chicago in the Bloomingdale's building on the 5th floor,
so
and
cool.
several other places.
That's
in
awesome.
LA and San Diego.
You
and
loving
San
it?
Francisco. Yeah, it's a fun like extra project, you know.
Yeah.
And then you, Miss Chic Thing, talk to me about the weather. What are these clouds, Miss Meteorologist?
We're under fair weather cumulus clouds today, but I was going to say these mountains right here behind us are part of the Wasatch Front. So they stretch all the way through, you know, Salt Lake City, and that takes you up to Park City and Deer Valley and all the beautiful Snowbird, all the cool places that people like to ski.
Yeah, like people, didn't you just do a Park City, Utah visit?
I did a little
She's
trip.
Fancy.
Yeah, a little
She's fancy.
trip with my sisters and my mom.
How was that? Did you ski?
So fun. No skiing. Ski season is best, I think, like Christmas to Valentine's Day for the Utah resorts. I mean, they're open more than that.
Did you spa it up?
Ski.
Did you spa?
We did a little spa.
I would do the spa.
Yeah,
I need a massage.
I'm more of a hot chocolate bunny slopes kind of.
Same.
Skier. Yeah.
Except you are the innocent hot chocolate bunny slopes, and I'm the give me some vino by the fire. But that is why we're sisters, X and O. So what do you like best about being, again, in Utah? Like after a transition from, you know, being born here, leaving, coming back as an adult. Because I find when I went back to Chicago the third time, it was more of, you appreciate it more.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird going from city dwelling where you've got all the skyscrapers to the mountains. In a weird way, there's a little parallel, but I love the mountains. I love seeing the mountains every day. It's beautiful.
Being able to wake up to this? Are you kidding me?
Right. We're
It's
in the
gorgeous.
valley, but we get the view of the mountains. So of all the places you've lived, sentiment aside, what do you like the best?
Well, I can't say that because every transition in my life was, I feel for the age, it was appropriate for each age and transition I was going through.
So like the vibe, do you like any of the climate, the topography, any of them the best?
See, I'm born and raised in Chicago in that city life, but it's also cold, you know, but I do get my 4 seasons. But I do also feel that weather with this, like the day is hot in LA or pleasant, and you do get the cold at night. And I do love my palm trees in LA. So they're the 2 longest places I've ever lived, LA and Chicago. So they're definitely both my home.
Yeah. I heard the saying once, home is where your mom is. So my mom's been here in Utah, so
and my
that's
mom is
how
in
I
Chicago.
feel.
So, yeah. And I'm going home next week for my birthday. So, but it's also where your friends are. So
That's true.
check out this area downstairs because, gosh, your home is incredible. But thank you for taking me into your professional space.
Well, I mean, it's professional, but we did all of this. We built with 2x4s. We built the green screen, which is actually a cyc wall. It has the kind of never-ending wall, so you can green screen in. But now the technology is so good, you don't even need green chrome walls. You can use a white wall, and you can put a fake background behind you anywhere. And we learned that kind of during
technically, like the green, you don't need the green.
You don't need the green anymore, because you know, during COVID we kind of learned how to put those fake backdrops. Now there's technology that makes it look really, really good. I do have it set up so I have the professional lights, so I can make it look really, really professional.
This is insane. You even got the ones on the top, and I don't know if you can see all of it, but there's like 3 of these set up. A huge screen, you can see yourself.
I mean, look, come on, come back here. I'm going to show you. You can literally stand on this. Like, we can literally stand right here. We can stand right here. And so if I was wanting to do like a talk back to New York or something, they can make this look like it's a huge studio behind me.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then
the
I just do my
lighting is insane. It's like it's literally like the studio, because I used to do entertainment with
Remember Windy City Live?
And with Windy City Live. This is exactly the setup.
Yeah.
And then so like during COVID, I could have used this whole thing, because I was doing like 13 shows a day out of my house.
13 shows?
13 shows a day.
Like in all different cities, or?
Yes. I was doing LA, Chicago, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Hartford, Connecticut, Portland, San Diego, San Francisco. I mean, it was insane. And my left eyelid would always twitch because I was so stressed. And it was during the time of the riots.
Right.
And I was on the air in St. Louis, so I had to pay very close attention. During the time of COVID, so every city in different states had their own tiers. Do you remember? Like,
yes.
LA, we had colors. Chicago, I think, were numbers. So I would have the news, the national news on in my living room TV, and in my bedroom, I would have the local LA news, so that I could be on the air for LA and also for California, know everything that's going on with San Diego and San Francisco. And then the other cities, I had to pay attention to that. Not only that, but the election was going on.
There were so many news moments.
So many things. And my left eyelid would twitch so much.
Mine's twitching as we're talking about.
Yeah. I went to them, girl, and I could say this on my podcast because it's called Unmuted with Nina Chantele for a reason. But you know what? I'm going to be honest. I went to them and I was like, hey, I need to get paid more, because you're giving me more jobs, because they were taken away from bodies in different bigger cities.
Right.
To give it to the people in the bigger markets, because we could do it, but they weren't trying to pay us that much more. But it was stressing me out with everything I'm telling you.
More work, no more pay.
Yeah. So I said something. And do you know the reaction was basically, you should just be happy to be here. So here we are. Podcast.
And when that happened, this is what we did. I'm so glad you got to see my whole place. The next couple of things that I'm going to be doing are, I wanted to make some podcasts with my friends. So this is like a good warm up for me, because my podcast so far has really been a little bit weather. It's been a sort of a weather themed thing, but I love this idea of doing things with my friends. You know what? I heard this guy, he made recordings and then he did not publish them till after he died. I'm not trying to be morbid or anything.
That is pretty morbid, because my birthday is
I know, but I don't want to be morbid. I don't. But I really like the idea of something lasting beyond me. And so I was thinking of maybe making some podcasts with friends, family, etc. Maybe I'll publish them, maybe I won't. But
I'm invited back?
Yes, you're invited back. Okay. But I wanted artistically to kind of like encapsulate, because so much of my life was spent outside of being with direct family. I feel like a lot of my family doesn't know like pieces of my life. Like I was so excited for my kids to all see you and know you, and what a big part of my life it was. So I want to kind of put time capsules on friends and experiences that I've had.
I love that. I love that.
How about you? What are you going to do?
I feel like now I have time for some of the projects that I've always wanted to put extra effort and time into. For instance, I've always said that I wanted to write a book. Yes. I want to write 2 kinds of books, though.
One scandalous, please.
Okay. Ooh, actually, make it 3.
Stories.
Then make it 3. Because, girl, I have a lot to say. And actually, I started writing one on my own, and no chat GPT involved. I'm putting that out there. Right. My own words. Typed it all out, like on a computer, like old school Sex and the City, Carrie, like sitting there on her laptop. I've done that. I've started it.
So real.
And I have a lot to say, Just like Unmuted, this podcast has a lot to say, is that side of it. But there's also this other one. Girl, did I ever tell you about my goat in Mexico? No, it sounds like the beginning of a joke, but all right. So I've told the story on the air a couple times and in different places, and hear me out.
Okay.
We used to go to Mexico when I was a kid in the summers. And I don't want you to think Cabo, Cancun. This is like straight up rural Mexico, okay? So at the time, we would go to like my grandfather that passed, may he rest in peace, Teto, used to have land in Durango, Mexico. And that's my mom's side.
Okay.
We would go there, and then we would go to my dad's family in Guanajuato. And my dad's family, I had Papa Che, it was my great-grandfather, and Mama Cuca, and she was my great-grandmother, and they were so cute. They were like tiny and super adorable. He would wear like the suspenders, the overalls, like the Oshkosh kind of looking. Think about that, the one piece with like a straw hat. He looked like that. And she was like the apron, old school, and like the really tan, wrinkly skin. And she would make tortillas like on a rock outside and teach us how to make them. They were so cute. So we were known for like the kids in the neighborhood in Mexico, like gringos. So they kind of look down on us because like, oh, they're like Americanized. They really don't know the real Spanish, even though we spoke Spanish.
Right.
And so they really wouldn't want to play with us because they were trying to like shun us or something. It was so weird. Kids are mean. So I would go and play with this goat. I named him Chirito. And it was my great-grandfather's goat because he had like farm and like animals. And I would go out there every day, girl. And I would feed it like corn chips and all kinds of stuff. And I would just talk to little Chivito every day. And one day I couldn't find Chivito. And I took it really hard. I was looking for Chivito every day. And since I wouldn't call it or I wouldn't find him, I would go into the room and get in a little ball and just lay there and just feel down on myself.
Right.
And my mom would be like, all right, enough. You know, strong woman, my mom, get up. That's it. Come on, join the world. Like, come on out here. So, yeah, fine. So I go and walk out. Well, my great grandfather was like, mija, vamos a comer, vamos a cenar. Like, we're going to have food. Let's go have dinner. So I'm like, cool. So, girl, we're eating the tacos. And he's like, mija, ¿cómo te gusta la comida? ¿Cómo te gusta la birria? How do you like the food? How do you like the meat? Girl, I'm over here sucking my fingertips like a little kid. I'm like, bien sabroso, so good. He's like, es tu amigo. It's your friend. Why would you do that to an 8-year-old? Why would you do that to an 8-year-old? Do you understand that now as an adult, I eat no goat anything, girl? No goat milk, no goat cheese, no goat anything, birria, nothing. I ask questions when there's any, I will not touch it.
Right.
I was like a cannibal at 8 years old. I ate my friend. Why would you tell somebody that? My mom was so mad. My mom was so mad. So till this day, that lesson for me.
Okay, you're gonna put this into a book, but I actually see a parallel to us in this story.
Like what?
Because we have friends that come into our lives and they make an impact on us.
Yeah.
You know, and there is a time for friendships. And some of them last, some of them don't. I'm sure you can look back at your life. There's this principle. It's called the 5-year friend or something like that, where you have people that come into your lives that are really tight with you for like 5 years. And then you may not see them again. But
I have 2 people in mind that you're speaking of right now.
But they're so critical in that part of your life or whatever life lessons you're having or shared experiences. I mean, we're on the fortunate side of that. Thankfully, you didn't eat me, but girl, grandfather did not eat me. But there's a little principle in there that we are really fortunate that we made it beyond that 5 years because our connection has stayed. There's a lot of people I can look back in my life and you're like, they were important in that part of my life and they are memorable to me.
Yeah.
But we're not friends anymore. We don't have any connections anymore.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I have 2 people specifically in mind right now that it's very true.
I'm your senorita goat.
My
that survived.
You're my chivito that survived. I also just realized that, see, this book could be so many things. You even came up with that whole comparison, that analogy, right? For me, I also think about so much that you can learn from that one little story. Kids being rejected by other kids. Okay, bullying is a real thing.
Don't even tell me because I got about 8 stories I could tell you from my kids growing up.
Yeah, bullying is a real thing. How kids can get past something like that. Loss. Chivito was a loss. You know, I was a kid that was like, that impacted me, man. And I ate Chivito. Like, okay, that was all messed up all in one. But at the same time, loss. And even like having to stay standing with as deep as it can be I mean, how do you get by in like a different country, right? Because not to get extra serious in here, but I've heard a lot of people have conversations about their exit plan if they need to leave the United States. What's their exit plan? Well, think about it. All these little kids didn't want to play with me because they thought I was like super American. I mean, you go to different countries. Sometimes these people don't want to help you out. They don't want to, translate for you. So many things that can be talked about with this book and life lessons, and even just finding a way to, adult from loss, from something like, okay, that's enough. My mom coming in and telling me, get up. Do you know how many times I hear that in my head when certain things happen in life?
I have a saying for this, and you can use this for your book.
What is it?
When my kids come to me and they're like, this happened to me, dun, 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 I said, okay, you have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes to cry, to swear, to be mad, to say everything you can't stand about this, and then we're done, and our day is going to go on. So you have 5 minutes to throw your fit, and then the day has to go on, because that is literally life.
It is.
If you stay in it, if you get depressed over it, if you continue to come back to it, it impacts you. So just disappointment, failed experiences, things that don't go your way, you got 5 minutes, and then we're done.
I'm going to leave unmuted with Nina Chantele, podcast episode, epic, my Chirito Amy in my life that will don't ever go away, because I will just die without you. But I think that this is just the greatest way to leave this episode, with dropping gems on them like that, sister.
Amen. Something doesn't go your way, 5 minutes, and then you're over it.
You have to remember that nothing in life is guaranteed. Like, not people, not plans, not even ghosts.
I love it though.
But friendships like this, the friendships that don't last are the ones that aren't meant to last. But friendships like this are definitely the ones that are meant to last. And this is why I love you, Amy Freeze.